districts, we would have dramatically increased what our overall tax increase would be. So you try to spare it out, so it's a little bit of an increase as we catch up with the fund balance. Last, with the fire districts, you know that we don't have any control over the lighting, over the fire districts. What we do have is, the only control we have is over the High Mount Fire Protection District, which is solely under the auspices of the town board, which again, I talked to the Pine Hill Fire Department, explained that we will hold the line on 2% being the max on that district. And as far as the water district goes, I did increase the contractual line there from, I believe, 26.5 up to 30,000 to try to increase that. And I even had a conversation with Vinny and Rick this morning where I was saying that maybe we could increase a little bit more, noting that there was a decrease in tax base or a decrease in the taxes for the water district. Again, if we can increase that contractual line to 31.5 and then that balances out at zero for a 0% tax increase, it'll help build their capital line, but at the same time not increase the tax base. So do we lower the tax or do we go with zero on that case? In the same respect, as I said, we have this meeting with FEMA concerning relocation. So FEMA is a 25% match. Now we know we have materials for the loop system, but the rest of the jobs are going to take cash out of pocket from the water district. So that's going to have to be found. Same thing if we go for a grant. Most grants sometimes have some kind of match to it. And obviously we're going to pursue trying to find something now. And I'll talk to Candace Bomber, who knows about all the grants all over the place, to see if we can get on this major project right now. Again, my concern here, give me a second. My concern here is that in order to replace this pump, they want to cut a hole through the roof and place it in. Okay. So, I'd like to get a professional opinion on this. It's right at you. It's right at you. No, you're not the professional. But, is that, so, yeah, we'd like to go down.
What Kathy said, she said, oh, maybe we get this pump in 2 or 3 years. We can't wait that long. Now, also FEMA, in Eric's office, said to me 2 years ago, the representative, oh, Rick, I saw those pumps, the water went right over, you're going to get new pumps. What a liar. We didn't get the pumps from FEMA, we got them luckily from NICEAD. But I haven't seen this FEMA representative. Don't count on them for anything.
I'm not counting on that. I have a meeting. Again, this is the process. You go through the process, see where it goes. So yes, we would like to build a capital project line within the water district. Yeah. Same thing in Pine Hill. We have multiple projects. I know Donnie has talked about extending the water line up there. So we have a similar situation. So, thank you. Any other comments on the resolution? With that, we'll move on to resolutions.
Resolution number 126-13, resolution to pay all bills. Whereas the Department of Audit and Control require town boards to sign and inspect all vouchers coming into the town for payment to number and total amounts from each fund. Therefore be it resolved that the town board authorize the following vouchers paid. General, $46,088.84. Highway, $134,480.26. Venetia Water, $15,608.16. Pine Hill Water, $100. Venetia Lights, $925.17. Chichester Lights, $135.28. Pine Hill Lights, $536.60. Move its adoption.
Board Member Bartlett? Yes. Board Member Presley?
Yes.
Board Member Higley?
Yes.
Board Member Dory?
Yes.
Supervisor Stan?
Yes.
Resolution 127-13. Tentative budget for review. Therefore, be it resolved that the town board of the town of Shandaken hereby adopt the 2014
Board Member Bartlett? Yes. Board Member Presley?
Yes.
Board Member Higley?
Yes.
Board Member Dory?
Yes.
Supervisor Stan?
Yes. Discussion. Resolution for public hearing on 2014 town budget. Whereas the public hearing is held every year for the purpose of hearing all those in favor or against the adoption of the preliminary budget for the town of Shandaken as the annual budget. Therefore, be it resolved, the town board of the town of Shandaken will meet and review the 2014 preliminary budget and hold a public hearing thereon at the Shandaken Town Hall on Wednesday, November 6, 2013, at 6:30 p.m. And at such hearing, any person may be heard in favor of or against the preliminary budget as compiled, or for or against any items or items therein contained. Move its adoption.
Board Member Bartlett? Yes. Board Member Bernstein?
Yes.
Board Member Higley? Board Member Jordan?
Yes.
Supervisor Dowd?
Yes.
Resolution 129-13, resolution approving town highway employees contract. Whereas the town of Shandaken Highway Department employees, through their CSEA representatives, have approved the contract negotiated with the town. Therefore, be it resolved, the town board of the town of Shandaken approve the contract as negotiated, and that all contents and said agreements, where applicable, shall be retroactive to January 2012 through December 31st, 2015. Pending outcome. Pending official approval by the CSEA regional representative. And move its adoption.
Second.
CSEA representative.
Yeah, regional representative.
Board Member Bartlett? Sure. Board Member Bernstein? Sure.
Yes.
Good, I was gonna say sure. Board Member Bernstein?
Yes.
Board Member Higley?
Yes.
Board Member Jordan? Supervisor Dowd?
Yes.
Resolution number 130-13, resolution accepting the Central Catskill Chamber as interim administrator for the proposed Route 28 corridor scenic byway. Whereas the town of Shandaken, Ulster County, in March of 2013, adopted the draft corridor management plan for the Route 28 Catskill Mountain Scenic Byway, and whereas the process toward final approval of the Route 28 byway plan by New York State can take anywhere from 24 to 36 months, and whereas the Central Catskills Chamber of Commerce has been performing the administrative duties required for the coordination of the approval process, as well as communicating with and connecting with the various municipal leaders and communities, collecting and maintaining records and documentation, and seeking grant funding, and further developing the marketing strategy that is included in the Corridor Management Scenic Byway Comprehensive Draft Plan, all on behalf of the byway municipalities. And whereas there are no financial or other obligations attached to this step, and formalization of the responsibilities during the final New York State DOT review and approval process will facilitate the process. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Shandaken, Ulster County, New York, does hereby recognize the Central Catskills Chamber of Commerce as the interim administrator of the byway plan through its final review and approval process. And I move its adoption.
I'll second.
Board Member Bartlett?
Yes.
Board Member Bernstein?
No.
Board Member Higley?
No.
Board Member Jordan?
Yes.
Supervisor Dowd?
Yes.
Resolution number 13-13, authorizing contract extension with Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency, UCRRA. Whereas the town of Shandaken has an existing 20-year contract between the town and the Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency for recycling services available for all town residents, and whereas said contract expires in October 2013, and whereas the UCRRA has requested a one-year extension of said contract, therefore be it resolved that the town board of Shandaken authorize the town supervisor to enter into a one-year contract extension with no changes or amendments to the existing contract. Move its adoption.
Second.
Board Member Bartlett?
Yes.
Board Member Bernstein?
Yes.
Board Member Higley?
Yes.
Board Member Jordan?
Yes.
Supervisor Dowd?
Yes.
Resolution 132-13, hiring ambulance personnel. Whereas under Section 20 of the town law, the town board shall designate all appointed officers and employees of the town. Therefore be it resolved that the following be appointed to the town of Shandaken ambulance. Part-time EMT, $67.52 per 12-hour shift plus $30.39 for transport. Michael Janish, and I move the adoption.
Second.
And I have been advised by Rich Mulleroy that there has been a background check on this individual and approved.
Actually, he's moving he's living locally, he's a weekend. So it's nice to have somebody else that lives in town available to us.
Board Member Bartlett?
Yes.
Board Member Bernstein?
Yes.
Board Member Higley?
Yes.
Board Member Jordan?
Yes.
Supervisor Sam?
Yes.
Yeah.
133-13. Whereas the Town of Shandaken Town Board under Section 59 of the Town of Shandaken Code has the sole authority to approve applications for the purpose of a public assembly in excess of 500 persons. And whereas the Town Board recognizes the benefits of public events to the economy of the town and also recognizes the necessity to provide adequate protections and a safe environment for its residents and participants alike. And whereas the town is in receipt of documentation illustrating compliance under the law, providing the necessary insurance, permits, security, parking, lighting, sanitation, emergency, and evacuation requirements. And whereas the town board is satisfied with the application from the Phoenicia Turkey Trot for their event to be held in Phoenicia, New York on Saturday, November 30th, 2013, from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. It doesn't take that long. But therefore be it resolved that the Town of Shandaken Town Board hereby approves the permit for a public assembly to the Turkey Trot for their event, and that a certified copy of this resolution shall suffice as the approval certificate, and move its adoption.
I'll second.
Board Member Bartlett?
Yes.
Board Member Bernstein?
Yes.
Board Member Higley?
Yes.
Board Member Jordan?
Are you gonna race the ambulance?
Gee, I just knew somebody was going to bring this up.
I'll say yes.
It only took me 9 minutes to run it last time.
It's a rematch.
And Supervisor Sam?
Yes.
Resolution 134-13, Halloween curfew. Whereas the Town of Shandaken Town Board in prior years adopted a resolution pertaining to a Halloween curfew to alleviate the damage resulting from unsupervised trick-or-treating. Therefore, be it resolved that a curfew throughout the Town of Shandaken is declared on the evening of Thursday, October 31st, 2013, commencing at 9 p.m. and continuing until daylight. Said curfew to bar all children under the age of 18 unless accompanied by parent or guardian from being on the streets, bridges, roadways, or properties other than their own, and empowering the police to enforce the same. I move its adoption.
Board Member Bartlett?
Yes.
Board Member Bernstein?
Yes.
Board Member Higley?
Yes.
Board Member Jordan?
Yes.
Supervisor Sam?
Yes.
Resolution number 135-13, resolution authorizing waiver of 30-day notification required by the New York State Liquor Authority. Whereas Boston Culinary Group Sunset Lodge has applied for a liquor license, and whereas Boston Culinary Group Sunset Lodge has requested that the town waive the 30-day notification required by the New York State Liquor Authority in an effort to expedite the granting of a liquor license to Boston Culinary Group Sunset Lodge. And now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Shandaken does hereby grant the request of the Boston Culinary Group Sunset Lodge and does hereby waive the 30-day liquor license notice requirement to Boston Culinary Group Sunset Lodge, Route 28, Delaware Mountain, High Mountain, New York, 12441. And I move its adoption.
I'll second.
Board Member Bartlett?
Yes.
Board Member Bernstein?
Yes.
Board Member Higley?
Yes.
Board Member Jordan?
Yes.
Supervisor Sam?
Yes, and just an explanation, because I know a couple of people out there might be in on this. The center plate is actually the food concession up at Bel Air, but apparently with a conversation with Christian today, they still operate under the DBA of Boston Culinary Group, so that is correct. Before we get a call about we approved the wrong people.
Resolution number 136-13, approval of Phoenicia water rents. Whereas the town board must approve the water rents for the Phoenicia Water District, therefore be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the Phoenicia Water District billing clerk, that bills totaling $42,013.22 be billed to the users within the Phoenicia Water District for May 2013 through and including September 2013, and move its adoption.
Second.
Board Member Bartlett? Yes. Board Member Bernstein?
Yes.
Board Member Higley?
Yes.
Board Member Jordan?
Yes.
Supervisor Sam?
Yes.
Resolution 137-13, approval of the Pine Hill water rents. Whereas the town board must approve water rents for the Pine Hill Water District, therefore be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the Pine Hill Water District billing clerk, that bills totaling $29,533.32 be billed to the users within the Pine Hill Water District for July 2013 through and including September 2013, and I move its adoption.
Second.
Board Member Bartlett? Yes. Board Member Bernstein?
Yes.
Board Member Higley?
Yes.
Board Member Jordan?
Yes.
Supervisor Sam?
Open public comments. Marty, yes.
I think Jeff mentioned that there was a meeting held in September about the classification of the 1,200 acres. And Parks and Rec Board passed a resolution urging them to reconsider. They've only allowed 200 acres for intensive use, and we would like to just have the possibility of more recreational activity that intensive use permits. Is the town going to pass a resolution on this?
You know what, I'm gonna take blame on, I'm ready for it. I don't know, I didn't put the resolution, I completely forgot that we were gonna submit comment. It's up to the board if we would like to address a motion at this point to consider this or do the resolution as we sit here. I think for the most part, the town board was satisfied with the proposal by the DEC. We could sit and discuss about the
I personally
request, but I don't know,
I contacted Doug personally and asked them to try and expand that intensive use. Or at the very least, if they're going to use the wild forest for cross countries, have some amenities there so people will use it. I mean, if you don't have a facility for the bathrooms and for parking and maybe for warming up, I don't see who's gonna bother to use that area for cross-country skiing. They can do that now.
well, let me just see if I can clarify for everybody at home who's may not know. So this concerns the 1,200 acres in Big Indian, basically behind the mattress barn along Route 28. It is a parcel that was previously owned by Crossroad Ventures. It was sold to the state with an agreement. The state now, taking ownership, is looking to classify between three classifications: wilderness, wild forest, and intensive use. The town board and the recreation board last year had formal resolutions requesting that all of it be labeled as intensive use. The DEC came back with something unique, actually. What they've done is they've divided, the parcel goes between the Bel Air Lake and the Bel Air Ski Center. So the 200 acres that are being included in intensive use actually adjoins the Bel Air Ski Center with the lake as one total intensive use area. On the backside of Bel Air, there's a small acreage. I'm sure Kathy can give me the numbers on what's what. But on the backside, there's small acreage that Bel Air probably does not intend to use at any point for skiing or anything like that. So that will be included back into the wilderness area, which is adjacent to Big Indian Wilderness on the backside of the ridge line that we see from Route 28. On that ridge line, on the front part, they are considering that wild forest until you get to Giggle Hollow, which is essentially where the lake is. Under that designation, the issues we had were that we were anticipating cross-country skiing, and anybody we've talked to in cross-country skiing enterprises has said, if you don't groom, they will not do it. They won't, you know, there are the people that love to free track, and again, myself, I love hitting freshies out in the powder and in the trees, but breaking a track on cross-country is a lot of work, and having it groomed makes it more accessible for a lot more people. So the DEC came up with an exception to the rule specific to this parcel, where they would consider allowing a motorized vehicle for maintenance for the grooming of the cross-country ski trail, as well as removal of small debris that may impede progress along the trail. It's a single track, so but that's really what we've been looking for. What came up during the discussions was, and I have to say that I didn't disagree with Mr. Michelotti's argument, that knowing what are we to know what the recreational activities are going to be in 50 years, 100 years? So why would we put an impediment on that availability? Why not go for the intensive use so that you keep it wide open? You can always reduce at a later date, but keep it wide open. You'll never see where they take a wilderness or a wild forest area and make it more intensive use. So it's...
I also...
I see the hands go up. I said something wrong and something came up.
No, it's not wrong.
So let me-
If I could just finish my thought.
Sure.
we have over 35,000 acres in our town held in these strict and very restrictive categories of wild forest and wilderness. I don't think we should be happy about any addition to that category. I think tourism and recreation is where our economic activity primarily comes from for the town, and we're cutting off our own, I don't know, what's this expression, a nose to spite your face. We should have as much flexibility as possible. It's still state forest land. They're not going to allow any wild and crazy stuff. It's still incredibly restricted. But once it becomes wilderness or wild forest, it just rules out any flexibility.
I mean, we're getting a little out of order here, but because of the system.
I think we all agree on the goal of increasing the use of the land for purposes for which it was set aside, in addition to the water quality protection that it provides. The data that we have suggests that wilderness and wild forest lands draw in Shandaken, in the Catskill Park, 4 times more per year than the intensive use lands that we have. So if we want to base what we're doing on something like a business model, we should really look at what actually draws people here. And we have some data on it, and what draws people here is the wilderness and the wild forest. It's for hunting, it's for fishing, it's for hiking, it's for camping, it's for birding, and there are people in the numbers of 400,000 plus a year that are coming to the Catskill Park Forest Preserve lands for that each year. Now, we know that. There are about 120,000 that come to the Bel Air Ski Center intensive use. It's only one season, so, you know, that's part of it. But it's also that people do like to get into areas where they're doing activities where they're not so much on top of each other. So I think having wild forest with cross-country skiing and grooming the snowmobiles is a good compromise. It's a good way to go forward. And it is absolutely not true that you don't have wilderness go back to intensive use, because we actually have that in the current proposal from the DEC, is to take some wilderness lands and make them intensive use and vice versa, or intensive wilderness lands to go to wild forest lands. So you've got the potential to do that at any time. There's a swap of lands that were coming in that were intensive use that are going to wilderness. That's about 115 acres.
That's in Shandaken?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah, top of the
It's the
mountain.
top side of Bel Air, but it's on the back
But
side.
that's the least restrictive going to the most restrictive, not the most restrictive
Going
going
to
to
the least restrictive, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. There's not one in this
Well,
instance.
and let me just play again. I've heard of this. Believe me, I'm sure you get bombarded.
But it could just as easily go the other way.
Just
We
to
have
bring-
swaps of
Right.
land.
I'm glad you pointed out that, you know, again, so you have Bel Air that brings in 120,000 visitors, where you have the rest of the park brings in 4 times as much. Granted that Bel Air operates essentially once, you know, the ski season. Again, we'd like to see them, we've had conversations with Warner about mountain biking. We don't want to be Plattekill, we don't want to be Wyndham, but just allow us to mountain bike and really promote it around here. But you know, we're throwing out numbers with, you get 4 times the visitorship in wilderness and wild forest. But at the same time, when we look at the percentages of land that are occupied by those activities, you have 98% of the land is wilderness and wild forest, where 2% is intensive use. So you have this little piece of pocket of land that's creating a quarter of what everything else is bringing in. So to add to that intensive use, I mean, I don't even think, probably we could figure out the percentages. Maybe, I don't even think that the total for intensive use area by adding those acreages would increase it to 3% of the total of the Catskill Park. But if you know what I'm saying, if you can go back and forth with numbers, again, numbers are funny things. But I'm just saying that I know there's a lot of people, and ultimately, I think there's a solution here, there's a resolution into this, and I do think the DEC has come up with a good proposal, but we do have a formal recommendation from our Parks and Rec Board, And we do have the rest of the town board that they, you know, if
Also-
need be, we can
Also,
pass a resolution.
I
to
got a
draw
problem with the
You take-
wilderness area due to the fact that when that particular area you're talking about that the state's considering to be wilderness area, I mean, if you're in the middle of that area, you can hear traffic. You can actually hear traffic from the road. That's not a wilderness area.
Part of the reason to try to designate the backside of this parcel as wilderness is that there's new additional land that is now owned by the Nature Conservancy that will come into the forest preserve as wilderness. And so that'll make the whole backside of the bowl, the Big Indian Wilderness, as far as you can see from any portion of it, wilderness. So there may be places where you can hear the road. There are definitely places where when you get down on the other side of the mountain, you do not hear the road, and you don't see these more developed activities. And that is what will draw people here, because they have a place where they can experience solitude and the expanse of nature. So to try to protect that seems reasonable to me, and so that land going in as wilderness makes sense. The wild forest proposal allows for the mountain biking. It allows for the cross-country skiing. And the nonprofit organizations here in the area have supported the exemption for the snowmobile grooming. Some of the organizations are requesting that that be specified to be an electric engine on the snowmobile, which snowmobiles now have, and is quieter and produces, you know, less fumes in the air. But that to me seems like the way to go so that you get the activities that everybody has said they wanted. If you start putting buildings up on that parcel of land, I don't see that you draw more people to it. You discourage some of the mountain bikers and you discourage some of the cross-country skiers who want that more naturalistic experience. So whatever comes in can be undone if it's not serving purposes. And